Hey all YouTube, it's Brendan, aka Cliff Jumper, and we're doing something off the beaten track for my normal channel stuff. Many of you know that I've got ADHD and I've got many interests, and my interests include being a guitar nerd and a gear nerd. So today I'm just dealing with some guitar stuff for my work. I do lead worship at my church, at Quest Church, so I'm responsible for all this tech gear that we got around here. And today we're focusing on my guitar rig, which is overly complicated, and we're going to make it slightly less complicated. As I do lead worship from guitar and I control a bunch of different things using this setup, I've got this mic stand, right? And it's got my in-ear monitors. And yes, Matthias, I know we don't have my mix yet, but still working on the budget on that. So we're stuck with these 20-year-old things for now, but hopefully we'll have some My Mix units in the near future. Anyway, I've got a couple of iPads on here. One of them controls part of this rig here. This one is a slave that helps control the sound system, and I can monitor things. And of course, I've got my microphone so I can sing. So all of that goes down to this little stand right here, which if you notice, just the way that all this has to work with my sound pedal board here, it's very off balance, and it would be really easy to tip it, and that does not make me happy. So I'm very glad my friend turned me on to this little thing. This is called a Snapdragon. And what it does, it's a little machined piece of aluminum, and it's got a custom fitting on it, and that will allow me to bolt my microphone stand right onto the corner of my pedal board. I just have to drill into the metal here and make sure that the holes are in the right clearance. And after this is secured, then I've got the whole weight of this pedal board, which is like, honestly, it's about 90 pounds. It's a heavy beast with all of these pedals. So we're not worried about it tipping over, but that will provide a really good fulcrum point to let me plug this. And this little quick connect here will allow me to plug in my new mic boom stand into the corner there, and we should be stable and off to the races. So that is the project for today. Shouldn't take us too long. Just gonna mark where the holes need to be, drill, install that thing, and then transfer all of this stuff off of my old mic stand onto the new one that'll be mounted in there, because they are different. This does not have a threaded bottom. This has a threaded bottom that fits with the quick release fitting, so I'll be able to take that on and off whenever I need to for when I do off-site events or travel and, you know, occasionally play in other states or whatever. So anyway, that's what we're gonna do today. Let's get to it. All right, so I've kind of mocked it up, and I realize I have to cut off or peel off this Velcro here. That's not gonna be a big deal, but I do need to undo all of these different connections that I've got going up to my existing mic stand. And there's a lot. I've got audio connections going to my iPad that controls charts and pads and click track and loops and all sorts of fun stuff. So I've got power running to the iPad. I've got an audio cable running to that. I've got an Ethernet cable running up here to the Aviom system. I've got power running to the other iPad that's up here, and the XLR cable running to my microphone as well. So there's a whole bunch running through this that I've got to undo in order to migrate it from one mic stand over to another. So we'll deal with that first. Now that gives us the ability to stick this right on the corner here where it's going to support from both ends and not just pull up the the aluminum on the board here. So that's where that is gonna sit. And of course, marking it means I have to go from underneath. So it'll probably sit inward just slightly because there's a little bit of an edge in there. So it's probably gonna end up being like that. So not a bad orientation. We can go ahead and put the Klon back, and I think I'll just arrange a couple of things here slightly tighter. That's the danger with pedalboard stuff. Once you start down the trail, you end up having to do a whole bunch of other things when you make one change. Unlike many pedal boards, mine is super messy underneath. So yeah, that's just a thing, and it's ugly, and oh well, it just is what it is. Pretty bad. But let's see here, what can we do? We are going to be dealing with this section back here. Looks like this adhesive on that power unit has failed, so probably need to deal with that as well while we're in here. And then down in the bottom, there is the place where we're gonna have to put the base of this thing. So that's gonna require moving some stuff down here. So a little bit more work than I'd hoped, but it's doable. So I've secured this plate with just a little bit of gaffer tape to keep it from sliding around while I'm drilling. That way we get it in the best possible place for the top. So I'm just gonna go ahead and get some holes through here. And it is important when you're doing Velcro, use the heavy duty industrial stuff. This is heat resistant. It'll stand up to the heat that all this power stuff generates. Pro tip there. Goes into the Godzilla Whisperer. This is a signal splitter and buffer. And then it's basically an ABY switch with a buffer. So it splits it out to my acoustic chain and my electric chain. And it's coming out of here, going into the Klon, then into the Blues Driver, Tube Screamer, and then out of there, we want it to be plugged in to the Tube Screamer, so that would probably be helpful. I'll have to fix that little connection. But then we're gonna come out of the Tube Screamer and run into the Zoom. So the best way to do that is to probably just duck straight along this line and up. So gonna make a cable that does that. Now in terms of connectors, I've been using these Joyo ones for a few years now, and I found that they're much easier to work with and more reliable than the Lava Tightropes, and they're basically the same in terms of reliability as the George L's, but they take up a lot less space. So the George L end here compared to the Joyo, so they're quite a bit shorter. In terms of constructing these cables, way easier than the George L's. Basically just, or not, it's the same as the George L's. You take the end, just shove it straight down in, nice and tight, bend it over 90 degrees, put on the cap, and put in the screw. Which of course I'm going to fumble and drop 50 times before I get it threaded. Et voila. Now I'm just going to run it the length I need, and then I will use my handy dandy cable tester to make sure that it is actually working. If you've never used one of these, here's how it works. Get your two ends, plug in your different cables, turn it on, and it should give you a pattern that shows you, yeah, it's actually working. And that little cross star pattern is what you want for these. And if you think there's an intermittent connection, you can wiggle it a bit and see if the cables flicker, but that one's good. Okay, now we're gonna remove it and we're gonna test it before we put all this stuff together. So, cable ends in, turn on the tester, and we've got confirmation, good cable. So, all right. So theoretically, we should be up and running with everything that needed to be reconnected here. So I'm gonna plug it all back up, fire it up, and then we will give it a signal test to make sure, because every time I take this pedal board apart, it seems like something doesn't work when I put it together again. It's probably just me, but I know it's not, because I hear that from literally everybody that works on pedal boards. So we're just gonna see where we failed and what needs to be redone. We've got the Snapdragon very firmly mounted here, which means that we can take this new mic stand and snap it in place. And I believe that it's a matter of, yeah. Now it's supposed to snap and remain snapped, so let's see what the deal is with this. So it doesn't seem to be doing quite what it's supposed to. There we go. Okay, so that's locked in place. Now I can take this, loosen it, and bring it down to the orientation that I want it. Now at this point, it's just a matter of bringing that out where I want it. Oh yeah, I like that. Yeah, for every musician that does not have a coffee holder, definitely recommend that approach. Coffee holder, must have. And of course, because sometimes on a dark stage, I've got this bright light thing I just clip on here so I can light up, see what I'm doing. And again, my apologies to the world at large, because it was given to us. And I'm very grateful that it was given to us. And I don't know, if a company like MoveTech would like to give us a set of my mixes, because a little church like ours doesn't have the budget to spend $10,000 on in-ear monitors, or even $5,000 on in-ear monitors. And so we've got the 20-year-old Avioms, and that's just what we have. Now, this is a delightful little cup holder, which I found it's actually too small to be a cup holder, but it works great for holding capos. And I guess before I wire all this back up, I should check to make sure this works, because if I have to take it apart, that's going to be a bummer for all this hoo-ha. So, all right, moment of truth. Well, I've got it all wired up. I just did loose wiring on this because I did want to check it that it's working. But let's see if we have functional signal and all the things that are supposed to happen are happening. So kind of rolling in here, just my clean tone. All right. And the clon. And the blues driver. Go add the tube screamer. Dare I go for the Seven Sisters? Why not? All right, that works. Oh, hero of heaven, you conquered the grave. You free every captive, break every chain, oh God. You have the greatness. All right, successful test. Everything's working. Very happy with this. Good turnout. All right, so yay, it works. So just as long as I've got you here, do a little quick rundown of my setup here. So again, we've got my iPad, which is running on song, and it's controlled from my AirTurn Stomp 6. So I hit the pedal, and that switches me from chart to chart, and it also lets me do things like trigger pads. Oh yes, very nice pad happening here. Little ambiance. That works. Click track, of course, I've got visual on here. In the in-ears, it's happening in here, and just there you go. So got the click happening, as well as down here. So there's one chain for electric, and yes, the Miku is awesome. For anybody who's never experienced the awesomeness of the Miku, I'm just gonna treat you to this because it's yeah, that's it. Which, you know, come on, it's silly, it's ridiculous, but if I start throwing overdrives through it, then it starts to take on some really interesting... Now, start to get really crazy, throw on yeah, so it can make a variety of completely useless noises, but again, you start to do some swelling stuff in the background, and you know, you could have a soft moment happening, and then you're just like... for the most part, we leave it off, and it's just a fun thing to bother people if they're noodling. Right? So, kind of fun, useless. So that's my rig. Got the Zoom. The Zoom A3 is my acoustics effects pedal, and it daisy chains as well into the electric rig, so I can run the custom effects flux capacitor, which is awesome. And I've got the Joyo Space Verb, which gives me some really nice lush reverby goodness. Anyway, I think that's enough demo time. I hope you enjoyed checking it out. If you don't have a Snapdragon and you're using a separate mic stand that's just taking up space on your stage and it's one more thing for you to lug around and move, man, the Snapdragon's awesome. I'm not affiliated, not sponsored. A worker is worthy of their wages, and the guy that made this thing is well worth anything you pay him to get this thing. I don't remember what I paid, but I think it was like about $100, and it was great. It's awesome. I love it. It's definitely helpful. So God bless you wherever you're serving. Hope this helped you out. If you are an electric guitarist and gear nerd like me, then I hope you enjoyed this. And if not, well, I'm sorry. What can I say? See you next time. Thanks for checking us out. God bless. Bye-bye.